More NASCAR content? For all the latest in NASCAR, including driver interviews, race recaps, fantasy NASCAR, listener call-in shows, and awesome giveaways, tune in to the Lap Traffic Podcast on iTunes, Podbean, or your favorite hosting site with new shows every Tuesday night. Check out Lap Traffic on the web, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, and follow on Twitter @LapTrafficPC. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!
With the ButtKicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. ButtKicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Full Send Racing Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Just a little bit of a knowledge point. We are dealing with some connection issues. We're going to be testing to see if we can get the issues fixed while being live. The drivers are just hitting that of turns 3 and 4 and are about to be going green. But if we cannot get any of our issues completely fixed, we are sadly going to have to close this broadcast. But if we do have to close it early, don't worry, we will have a highlight video to finish out the rest of this later on in the week. But we're hoping that we're able to give you the full coverage here of the Full Send Racing Series FR Graphics 24 as that of 240 here tonight, because it is the final race of the regular season. We've got drivers that are in must-win scenarios, others just racing for pride for 90 laps here tonight. We do have a stage break at the end of lap 25. Let's see if we can make it there. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Trevor Earhart, Robert Moyer Jr. running the productions in the background. We're in the trial. Full pace car is off into the restart zone, and we're green for the FR Graphics 240 here tonight. And Trevor, looking clean so far, heading down into turn number 1.
Looking clean so far, Sam. It's the cutoff race to get into the playoffs. What better place to do it than here at Talladega? Medley, our pole sitter, with a great jump over the 99 of John Dart, with help from his fill-in teammate Christopher Norris, who's filling in for that of Ken Campbell. Then you got Zach Hall in 32, also on that bottom line. Philip Chavez there as well, as they're trying to four-man team up on that bottom group to get the momentum down the back straightaway. But here come the Darts on the outside as John and Travis giving a good shove to one another as they try to get back up there to the side of the 12 machine.
Blasting their way on the outside, trying to keep it close as drivers in the middle of the pack trying to already kind of jostle around, figure out where they want to be. Some thinking they just want to get as much space as possible. Not surprised by that. A lot of drivers thinking about the long term. It's about the win for the majority of these drivers. As again, this is the last race of the regular season. We'll do a quicker rundown later on what the point standings look like. But lap number 1 goes to Andrew Medlin, who is still searching for that first win. But because of drivers ducking out of the playoffs, that of the 12, is now the cutoff driver, 12th in points over that of Travis Dart.
Yeah, comes in 18 points to the good. So needing a good run, needs to stay out of trouble. And what better place to stay out of trouble here at Talladega than in the lead? But they're going to have some contenders here on that outside line. It's the Darts again. They have that momentum now, Sam. They're side by side with our lead 2. We're side by side all the way back about 5 rows at that. Actually, all the way through the field. The field's still side by side. But this is the type of racing you expect here at Talladega. I thought, Sam, we'd see a couple trucks drop to the back that you know were in must-win situations to maybe avoid the big one, but everybody looking pretty racy here early on.
Yeah, majority of those drivers up front being pretty racy. Those that are in the must-win scenario that are running up front. The big ones, Philip Chavez, Charles Hugel, running in 8th and 9th place. Those two drivers, the only ways that they are going to be able to make it to the playoffs is to get a win. And right now, leading up front in that group, trying to find themselves moving closer and closer to the lead pack, but still being led by that of John Dart as well as Andrew Medlin. But the Darts, huge push for themselves, and dropping down low is going to be John Dart.
And John gets that run from the help from the 26. He's going to drop down in front of Andrew Medlin. It's going to leave now Dylan Glass, who's filling in for the 9 of Brian Wilson, leading the push for that outside line as he's got Travis in front of him. And you got the 17 of Chris Stitz up there and that 30 of Charles Hugel. So now those 4 got to figure it out and see if they can get the 26 out front. And this is kind of what I'd expect to see, Sam. That outside line gets a good enough push that he'll drop down to the front or in front, and then it'll leave the 9 now as the new leader. But Travis decides not to go down in front of John and instead going to keep leading that outside line here through 1 and 2.
I mean, what's the best way to control the race? Be the 2 lead drivers, and that's exactly what both Dart brothers are doing. John on the inside, Travis on the outer groove. Travis Dart, the driver that is in a must-win scenario if he cannot find a way to get 18-plus points for himself. And the best way to do it, maximizing your points, being up front, leading those laps for yourselves, getting the maximum stage points for that of the 26. Well, it helps to get the win. That's an automatic lock into the playoffs for the 26. And other drivers also looking for that win in your in scenario. Ryan Lynch, Austin Call, as well as Charles Hugel, Sam Siegel, Philip Chavez, Nick Gould, as well as Jonathan Casebeer are the eligible drivers. If they win, they're into the playoffs. Or if you're Andrew Medlin and Kyle Carpenter, if you find yourself in the victory lane, you as well solidify your spot in the playoffs, but they are already inside of our top 12 just based off of raw points.
Yeah, I think for Carpenter and Medlin, it's kind of all about survival here. Is Travis finally going to get the momentum dropped down in front of his brother, John, there on that inside line. It's going to leave Dylan Glass now on that outside line with help from Chris Stitz. But if you're Carpenter or Medlin, I think your goal is just to survive here tonight. Try to get some stage points and then avoid the big one when it inevitably does happen. That way you don't have to worry about a point situation. But anything can happen, Sam. If one of these drivers outside the top 12 wins, I mean, that could knock out Andrew Medlin or Kyle Carpenter, depending on if Carpenter has a bad night here.
Yeah, and for that of Carpenter, he has been on the bubble spot for the last month and a half, it feels like. It's finally feeling secure on the fact that he's in 11th place, and he should be good points-wise as long as he does not get wrecked out of this race. So big factor, he's got to focus on that. But up front, it's that of Dylan Glass leading the way in the 9 machine, being a fill-in driver. We got 3 fill-in drivers in total for tonight. Joining Dylan Glass is Christopher Norris, who we've already noted on in the 15 Lids machine, riding for Ken Campbell. And in the 52, deeper in the field, Bill Dart is racing for Lyle Christensen, who has been missing out on the last couple of weeks. But it's great to have fill-in drivers willing to come in, fill in those spots, give us great racing in and out. And I gotta say, as the fill-in drivers, Christopher Norris, he's been a fill-in driver for a lot this season. In the 15, he's been very good. He's filled in back the start of the season for that of Andrew Medlin. Tonight, it's for that of Ken Campbell, who's known to be one of the best super speedway drivers, and the 15 darts up to the outside of that line.
Yeah, Norris saw that opening up there, decided to take it, leaves his teammates down on that inside line. So kind of surprised that they're going to break themselves up this early on, but hey, you got to take the runs when you can get them right now, and Norris feeling pretty good about that. But here comes the 12 of Medlin. He's going to jump up there in front of that 15 machine as well. So maybe sensing that outside line can get them a little bit further up to the front, they're going to go up there and test it out.
Question is, are they going to find openings to bring up another teammate up in line? That of Zach Hall, who is right behind Zach Hall, probably the driver that I think might be probably the biggest underdog story if he can find himself in a victory lane. The 101 of Philip Chavez. I'm excited to see what Philip's going to bring here tonight because he's known on being involved with incidences week in and week out. He tries to avoid them, but he seems to be a magnet, and being a magnet of wrecks at a large track at a super speedway like Talladega, you don't like to have. But when you're in a must-win scenario, a clutch situation, maybe some magic could spill out for the 101 as you're seeing a little bit of jostling of drivers moving up, and let's try 3 wide racing up front.
Yeah, 3 wide racing almost was a wreck there for a second. Dylan Glass got a little slowed down in the 30. Hugel almost got into his right rear quarter panel and turned him into the wall, but went to the outside, tried to make a third line. Had a little bit of help from the 2 of Jonathan Woods. However, those 2 have no help behind them, and so that third line, just like that, is done and dusted. They're going to have to go back to the tail end of this outside groove and try to regroup and get back up there.
Get back up there, try to settle back in, and John and Travis Dart leading the way. Other point scenarios, with the fact of all the moving around that's been going on throughout the season on drivers trying to get their way into the playoffs, drivers are already clinched in. Zach Hall, Ross Tatum, Chris Stitz, Ken Campbell, Jonathan Woods, as well as Nick Holland, John Dart, Christopher Wade, Cameron Sarin, and Will Bustler are 10 drivers automatically locked into the playoffs. Starting off here tonight, it's Kyle Carpenter, Andrew Medlin that are in the unknowns of where they want to be. And as well, we didn't get to touch on it, but a pole award starting up front given to that of Andrew Medlin in the 12. Speed certainly is there, but he's starting to fall back, and just being the 4th car in line on the high side, not the worst place in the world. But do you really feel like, Trevor, you want to be up in the middle of this pack? Because I would feel like if you're 4th, 5th in line, that is still a major danger zone.
Yeah, you're kind of in the hornet's nest right there, running 4th or 5th in line, depending on what line has the momentum. I mean, you definitely, as a driver, you feel more comfortable out front, so you'd be definitely a lot more comfortable if you're John or Travis Dart. But all it takes, Sam, even as a leader, is just one bad bump from somebody behind you, that could really change this whole complexion of the race around. So, it's kind of, who do you feel comfortable racing around in right now? I think for Medlin, feels comfortable behind the 9 of Dylan Glass and in front of his teammate, the 15 of Christopher Norris.
Feeling comfortable, just sitting in line, where we want to be, and seeing where drivers are going to find themselves. Still crazy. You look at the numbers of drivers that have found themselves in a victory lane this season. And the big one still yet to get a win, the two-time champ Cameron Sarton in 8th position, 4th driver in line. How will he run? And as well, last driver to win here at Talladega, it was last season, the 53 of Christopher Wade. Can he find some more super speedway magic? Because that 53 machine knows how to get to victory lane. We've seen him do it on Thursday nights with Stars and Stripes. Can he get it done here in the Full Send Racing Series?
Yeah, got that win last season after some last lap carnage, and we'll have to see if Wade can do the same thing. Moving up quite nicely through the field, though, as he's tucked in behind the 24 of Cameron Sarton. And same, here comes that third lane again, starting to build some momentum. Joshua Altus leading it. He's got the 42 of Cole Sacchetti and the 3 of Ryan Lynch. Those three trying to make that third lane work as they're now door-to-door with the 12 of Andrew Medlin.
I mean, talking about, past seasons and running well at super speedways, Ryan Lynch, one of those that we can see doing well, and right behind the 3 on that third lane, you can see it in that light blue, baby blue and white. It's going to be Jonathan Woods, the driver that won at Daytona to start this season off. The 2 is in a good position for trying to move forward. But this, I would say, is the biggest spot of whenever I'm spotting for a driver or watching or driving at super speedways. It's kind of the danger zone of spots. There's no exit plan if you're in that third lane.
Yeah, there's no exit plan. There's no exit plan if you're in the middle either. And you can see a big kind of checkup from that inside line. John Dart came up in front of that inside groove in front of Dylan Glass, and Medlin had to get out of the throttle, and it caused kind of a stack up there, allowed that third lane to build even more momentum. But now they're starting to kind of fall out as everybody's trying to duck and weave, get down to that second line. As we see the 94 drop down. Now it's going to leave Cole Sacchetti now leading that outside groove. Sam, that's the nice thing about Talladega. It's wide enough that you can consistently run 3 wide here as opposed to Daytona.
Yeah, you got the space for 3 wide. You got your 3 distinct lanes. You can follow whatever line you need to follow. If that's you're inside, you're sticking to the yellow line. If you're in the middle lane, it's that first dotted strip. And then the third lane, you've got your own little area to stay in as well. And just like that, a blink of an eye, it felt like everyone was so claustrophobic on top of one another. Now we're giving each other plenty of space. We're 3 wide for the first 2 rows, and starting to see more action as here comes Cole Sacchetti mixing into the fray, trying to mix up in the 42. Got to have a great conversation with Trevor on talking about the the Full Send Racing Series in our 3rd episode of the Cool Down Lap. And right now on board the 42 machine and getting a sense on what it's like to be in the middle of everything right now.
Yeah, this is the fun part. We get to go inside the cockpit and see what the driver gets to see. And Sam, it is not a lot that you get to see out of the front end of these trucks, especially when you're tucked up right behind somebody right now behind the 9 of Dylan Glass, and you can't even see Chris Stitz, who's in front of the 9 at all, and barely can see what's around you. So if something were to happen, it's kind of all based off of luck and how well you can get through the smoke when a wreck does happen.
I mean, it's you could call this kind of a trust falling factors, that you're trusting everyone around you. You're seeing if they're going to hold their own lines, don't make any mistakes. And the big thing, when you're going to see a mistake happen, it's usually because of the pinching action that the middle lane's starting to do. I've seen a lot of that from Chris Stitz in 17, being very aggressive through the corners, trying to hold down the drivers that are to the inside, trying to figure out ways to slow everyone down. If spook somebody, they might let off the gas, which might do a chain reaction of making everyone else flip off the throttle and give you the speed of where you want to go. As we're still staying 3 by 3 all the way through, and it's that upper lane that's trying to stick as one, and leading that group right now, it's one of the drivers that is in a must-win scenario, the 18 of Austin Call, and the Wonder Bread machine trying to be a little bit of a wonder boy, try to find his way into victory lane.
Yeah, the 2 of the must-win drivers up there in that outside line leading that charge with Austin Call, Ryan Lynch, and they got good help from behind them. The Daytona winner, Jonathan Woods, the 3rd truck in line, and they're trying to get a 4th truck going up there to see if they can get a little bit of help, and that's going to be Jason Foray in the 118, who's made his way back into the Full Send Racing League here tonight. He's going to try to go up there and see if he can help a little bit and see if they can build some momentum as they try to get around Chris Stitz as they're 3x3, same about from the third row on back.
And a little bit of issues up front. You saw it there, the 17 blinking away. Over the radio, drivers were notified. If you have major issues, luckily we do have a race control. That's going to be Steve Benjamin for tonight's race. Benjamin has already notified the drivers. The first couple of incidences that he sees any issues with blinking, drivers will be notified privately. But if the blinking continues after they've been messaged and warned, they will be forced to get out of the way and drop to the back of the line. So drivers such as that of Chris Stitz, who's had a history of these issues, he's got to be a little bit fearsome on the fact that he is up front leading the pack, but in a blinking eye, race control can say, hey, get out of here, get to the back.
Yeah, that's the nice part about having a race control is they can, get those issues sorted out. It makes it hard as a driver when you're behind somebody who has those internet issues that are blinking in and out. It makes it really hard to give them consistent pushes or to figure out if you are lined up even with them because they can blink out. You can slightly go to their inside, and when they come back, it could cause a big issue with you turning them around in front of the field. And right now, thankfully for Chris Stitz, looks like his issues have worked out as he gets a big shove from the 9 of Dylan Glass and see if he can clear the 12 of Medlin, but not quite able to. And Austin Call on the outside trying to hang with him as well.
Try to hang with, and how can they start to make this move going forward? Difficult thing about pack racing, you can't get away from anyone. The only way you lose somebody is if you lose the draft by letting off the gas and not being able to keep moving speed to stay in the wake of the drivers in front of you. But if you're trying to just pull away naturally, like we've seen at other ovals, it is virtually impossible to do so unless there's some crazy side drafting, which Trevor, these aren't the next-gen cup cars where side drafting is as aggressive, but these drivers are not getting away from one another.
No, you can still use the side drafting in the truck, and it pulls the cars that you're side drafting back a little bit. You can separate tandem or just, allow you to get a little bit more speed, slow down the line that you're trying to side draft, but it's not as aggressive as it is in the next-gen cup car. You have to be a little bit more aggressive in the truck to get the side draft to work, and that's what could lead to issues with the drivers getting into one another and causing them to shoot back up the racetrack in front of one another. So something that the